Well, maybe you don't need them. Triage, Matt. Triage. Matt, speaking of triage, I'm sitting here on the platform on Mars. And I've been on the Mars platform. I've been wrong. From Chicago, you can get to Mars a lot easier than Elon's planning on getting there.
Well, he's got portal access.
Our friend Jimmy, exactly.
He's got portal access through CERN.
The CERN portal available and open right to Mars. That's a better way to go as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think it is the preferred method.
Anyway, you can go to Mars too if you just go to Chicago Union Station and board a metro train.
Where is Mars?
Mars is, I think, the second or third stop as you go north west. There's Clybourne Avenue for sure. Not a lot of trains stop at Mars, Matt. You have to find the one that actually
just green Martians. Just green Martians.
You know, and you know, getting to Mars is one thing. Getting home from Mars is a whole nother issue. And I'm sure that's what they're working on mostly in their endeavor, Elon. Getting there is one thing. Getting home is quite another. Anyway, I mean, where are you going for a part on Mars? Is something. If something breaks,
it's called a drone.
Oh, good news. The good news. All right, man. Let's talk sports. We haven't talked sports in a little bit, just a little bit,
because it's that time of year.
Right. I wanted to bring this up, Matt. This fresh from the Atlantic. The city of Chicago endorses a NASCAR race in temporary street course for a 3-year stretch beginning in 2023. The deal is not finalized. Tentative announcement, yada, yada, yada. What I wanted to do, though, Matt, is share my thoughts on what this course should be.
Should be. Okay.
Yeah. And here we have the great city of Chicago. Here's my thought. I'm first wide out. All right, here. You got to start on Wacker Drive, right? And rip out, and you get on the Lakeshore Drive. Then you rip up here past Oak Street Beach. You get off at LaSalle. And then these are city streets, so you could come down LaSalle, but you cannot just go straight LaSalle back down to, I mean, you'd be going 200 miles an hour. So you got to weave it some way through here and then get back to Wacker Drive, and that's your loop. And I want to say that I'm going to be the first to put this out there. They should combine the event with an Italian beef eating contest. So you're driving your NASCAR. You go past the original Chicago beef. You go past Al's. You go past you make the course around.
You have to stop and get a.
You got to stop and eat a beef, right? A full beef.
That's where they do the tire changes and everything too.
Exactly. The pit stops are at beef stands, and you got to eat a beef. You got to dip it hot and sweet, fully bathed. Then watch these guys try to hold the wheel. That's what I want to see. That's
they got to drive with it in their mouth.
Oh,
I mean, they got the Tiptronic. You know, when Detroit used to hold the Grand Prix, man, it was a rough course, man. You go down there and between the manhole covers and the potholes, Jesus, those
and the
guys.
panhandlers.
I think that lasted. It somehow lasted about 10 years.
Yeah, it lasted a decade at least.
Yeah, but it was like I don't think the best drivers didn't show up. It was the guys who liked to drive on the potholes.
Hey, Matt, I saw this year by Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
Is that Kevin from The Office? Or
I have no idea, but there was a whole thread on Sony missing and maybe they did miss it. They didn't miss it by much, though.
Yeah.
85 to forget about that part. The amazing thing, though, is 2004-5. Let's look at those levels that right there. Downloads were 1.5%. Subscription streaming only 1.2%, and CDs had 95.7% of the market. Again, man, we talk about this kind of stuff all the time.
And I was listening to Spotify back then, so I was one of those 1.2.
Unbelievable, because now streaming is
80x, Bob, 80x.
Yeah, and CDs from 95%.
I have all those too.
9% of the market streaming, killing it. But the thing that I love on this whole thing is vinyl with a giant comeback, right?
Right.
6.6% of the market.
I don't know if it's a comeback. It's always been there. The audio.
I don't know. I think vinyl has had a comeback. It for sure dipped And
Yeah, but
vinyl record sales.
It would be interesting to see how low it got, but people have
Yeah, I know that would be interesting to see how,
because the audio files, the mixers, you know, the DJs, they've always had vinyl. You know, they always have. These guys.
well,
were
here
all-
we're gonna 90. Matt, do some math for me. 95.7 and 1.2 is 96.9, and 1.5 is 99. So by my math, in that time period, Matt, it was less than 1%.
right.
Vinyl.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I just did math. How crazy is that? Hey, Matt, speaking of music, let's talk some mushrooms. Because
Yeah, it's interesting. We haven't talked about it in a while because the whole, you know, as we said, the marijuana sector's been dead. But, you know, this morning, like I said, I think you remember we were talking when this thing was, mushrooms were back in the sixes. I was like, well, you know, you're only risking $6. Well, the thing's more than doubled now. 679 up to 13s today, got up to 1297, sitting here at 1290. But again, this is the only publicly traded company, and that's why we talk about it. You know, if you want to have an edge, right now, this happens to be the only publicly traded company that you can pump money into and get access to psychedelic mushroom tripping. So,
and therapy. It's a pretty thick profile. I don't see any reason
yeah,
why.
no, now it looks. I mean, again, you know, if you weren't buying it down in the sixes, you definitely could buy the dips down to 8, 9, 10. That looks pretty good to me. Looks healthy. You know, again, patience. This is a good example of patience, waiting for a bottom. You know, buy a little bit more, buy a little bit more, but you know, you start scaling as it goes up. That's the way that you own stock, right? That is the way that you should own stock. It's the same way when stocks are going shooting to the moon. You sell them all the way up and then they break and then they go down, right? It's just the same thing.
And it just depends on your leverage.
Yeah.
Leverage has killed more people than any
well,
other.
But I say that seriously too, though. I mean, there's nothing wrong with averaging into positions and legging in as they're going up.
And there's nothing wrong with legging out on profit taking.
That's correct. Yep.
Bingo.
So anyways, if you happen to do that, you've got to double, take some off the table and then buy the next dip, because this looks like it might be, you know, a stopping point. This big part here on the profile, 1290 is right where we're at. It could go, you know, the next levels again, 15, and then you start, you know, all the way up to the top of this is somewhere in the 32s. So you definitely want that to happen if the sector does get going, and it's possible. So I would keep an eye on that, Bob.
Right on. Matt, other things in the news here for sure today. We had the numbers from the energy, oil in particular. Oil with a big build, but gasoline for sure, a giant draw. This from John Locke sharing, seems there is a fatal misunderstanding of where the bottleneck is. If you lack the capacity to refine oil here, releasing crude oil reserves was always going to end up being exported. Little nuance here in the setup of the market. We sent oil to Mars. It could be made for gas cheaper here. No, we can't, because we don't have the capacity to refine oil into gasoline. So that's an important nuance here. Energy markets for sure, just insanely volatile.
I mean, down. We were down $15 and now up 10 in 2 days. Yeah, down 10, down 15, up 10, and still, I would say short terms, with this type of bounce, a $10 bounce, you probably got to be selling into that news, because to your point, we're not adding more refineries, right? We're not doing anything more there. So matter of fact, if you want to look at a couple of those names.
Yeah. Let's look at some refineries for sure.
They've had a big boost today. Like Valero's up 5.08%, had a low of 98. Now it's all the way up here to 107 today. 107.47. Again, it might climb up to 116 if they got lucky. That might.
And again, for you, I know for you as a profile trader, for sure, a very defined risk area to be selling.
Yeah, once you get back up into that area, very defined. And if you caught some of this, if you were knife catching again, and I'm serious about this. This is not smart buying it right here at 98, 27. To me, I wouldn't have been buying yesterday. Personally, oil was crumbling. It was 95, but then it started rallying end of the day, and it just, they took it up. So, I think the thing you have to watch here is, if you caught it and you were catching knives, you got lucky. right? You got really lucky. So the other ones we've got here are Marathon MPC, and Marathon Petroleum is same thing, up about 5%, $4. If you were catching knives, not to be recommended, by the way, but if you were catching knives, please take some off the table, because that bounce and this one actually down into value at 77. And we talked about this yesterday. It was more interesting than Valero. So and then the third that I have in that space is PSX, which is Phillips, and Phillips is up 3.2%. Again, same thing. The charts are similar, and then waiting for this to populate on the short-term chart. Again, this one was way down to the low end of value. So again, if I was ranking those three trades, I would have gone PSX, Marathon, Valero. They all just moved together, though, right? So
right on. But again, looking at those profiles, completely different areas of price exposure.
yeah, and those were all 15-minute charts showing exhaustion to the downside, and these were big moves. I mean, Phillips, when oil was 130 or whatever, it was up here at 111, so it got crushed $34, which is again probably right around 30%. So that's a huge.
By the way, if you've been watching and you love this profile script in TradingView, join marketvitals.io and we can get it to you. Matt, along with this thread, because everybody talks gas, and then the whole fleet's going to be electric, and there's no chance that we have a fully electrified fleet without a giant rare earth element excavation. Let's just call it that. We have to destroy the earth to make EVs. Let me say that again. It's not a zero-sum game. You just don't stop drilling oil and everybody's electric, right? Yeah. There has to be. And I saw this.
You can't batterify everything. You cannot do it.
But I saw this the other day, and Turkey now, Matt, how about, they've been talking about peak oil for at least 20 years of my trading career, right? We're not going to find any more oil, and yet they just keep finding oil. This one on Turkey discovering 694 million metric tons of rare earth element reserves. Infrastructure construction starting this year, just like us here in Bend, in need of a new hospital or hospital capacity. This ain't going to happen overnight.
No, but it's interesting. This is coming from a Chinese media source, but also the Chinese have invested heavily into this region. So the money is coming from China and Russia, primarily into Turkey, right? But then you get the whole Turkey, Syria, Iran, Iraq nightmare going on. So it's not going to be.
It's not going to be an easy withdrawal.
No.
All I wanted to do was say this about this little nuanced trade, and Mexico, right? When they really started pumping a lot of oil, their currency stabilized a bit. And I think the same could be possible down the road here. And this currency has been absolutely destroyed. I mean, if you held your wealth in Turkish lira, it was, nearly 1-to-1 with the dollar.
Their inflation's like 80%. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But there is one thing: once you have a hard commodity asset that you can control, and this is something to keep an eye on, because much like the Russian ruble, this whole war thing, they said, listen, if you want to buy our oil, you got to use rubles.
Hey, let's bring in Dr. Copper while you're looking at their HG right above there. Just right below HG, two below. There you go, right there. And
Tucker, again, this is a monthly, and the last one was a monthly also.
Yep.
But this fully has rolled over.
Fully rolled over, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. And just starting, by the way.
And just starting, and plenty of room to the downside. Not only that, Matt, I mean, look at these other times here back in 2008 when it rolled over.
Yeah.
How violent this thing got.
Yeah, and again, we haven't had that big bar that you like. That we're right at the moment where this big bar came, right? That was August of 2008.
September, and this was October of 2008.
Yep.
So we're just same kind of setup here, and a little bit higher perch to be falling from.
And as they say, so goes copper, Dr. Copper, so goes the market.
Bingo. While I have it up here, Matt, before we jump into something else, let me just.
But the oversoldness in the market supposedly here over the last 6 months means we're done. We're done selling off, right? Yeah. That over you can ride the overbought, oversold
metric into the grave.
Right.
Matt, this is from the CME group. Choose a side. The Merc has gone full casino modeling here. Full casino. It's just with money and against money. Man, we talk about all the time how.
Why do they have a green bear and a blue bull?
I don't know.
With blue balls.
I don't want to even go there. I don't even want to go there. But it's fully with money and against money. This is basically, they're not saying it, but this, what do they call these options? Binary options. Like it's going to settle at 0 or 100. You're either, you take one side.
The Steelers won the game or the Dolphins won the game.
Right. It's an if then. It's an over under. The Spoos close at 38.70 or they don't, above or below. It's a with if then market, fully gamified. What they really need to do is have a personality like me and you try to pitch some of these gimmick bets. That's what it is. It's a gimmick bet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought we'd throw it out there and have a little chat about full binary. CME
will be
full
interesting.
Binary.
Right? Will be interesting. Binary. Does that mean it doesn't have a pronoun?
I'm pretty sure. That's exactly what it means. All right, Matt. Jobs tomorrow. Everybody's waiting on jobs. Let's talk jabs. Just for a second here. One of our great follows, ZR1 Trader, sharing Nostradamus' Uruguay demanded Pfizer state if graphite oxide is in their jab, or what else is in the jab. Pfizer withdraws from playing in Uruguay. Also,
probably Uruguay wasn't paying they probably weren't paying their invoice for the jabs they'd given anyway. So
Civil War will be lit as AF. He also shared on this. Pfizer drops India vaccine application after regulatory seeks local trial. That was at least a year ago.
Hey, listen, there are lawsuits not only in this country, even though they've been given indemnification. There is going to be lawsuits against these guys. No doubt about it. And even if it's not in the U.S., it will be in other countries. So these guys are not going to be indemnified. And again, I think it's just a matter of time before. The stuff starts. It's already been exposed for the last 2 years. I just, again.
Well, we saw Alex Bunson.
Yeah, Alex Berenson is back on
Twitter.
After he was permanently suspended.
And he had to mummify all the details of his reinstatement.
He got paid off, right?
Interesting. And a lot of other interesting things seemingly, Matt, as we've spent a lot of time, nearly every day, talking about the breaking news of the elites trusting each other more and more.
Right.
That last part of it, the bad news is the majority of people trust the elites less. We see Boris Johnson resigning.
Yeah, 40. Well, they had 40 some cabinet members go bye-bye, and then he, which meant he was going to be gone, and he was like, "No, I'm not going." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. You're freaking gone for sure, 100%. You're gone."
We see the Italians are not only revolting against wearing bikinis, or the elites in Italy are. Bring that up because I had a hard time believing that out of Italy.
But it's a simple tax grab. Yeah, out of Sorrento Resort. Italy's Sorrento Resort bans bikinis. Wearing swimwear could land you a $425 fine for
what else? What are you supposed to swim in?
But let me ask you this. Speaking of the elites, can Klaus Schwab still walking around in his teddy with his nutsack hanging out? Can he still do that?
Of course, as long as he's holding Mario Draghi's hand, it's going to be fine. And so the Italians
we got Mario Draghi, who's
rioting.
He's the PM now, and he used to be the ECB. He was Greenspan, and when Greenspan was there, it's like you just can't believe all this stuff, And then the ECB is talking about including climate control change bullshit into their monetary and fiscal policies. I mean, it's like, come on. You guys are just a bunch of boobs. So it's another tax grab. Climate change is a tax grab. Maybe you should have to wear a fur coat, make furs great again, make pelts great again. I don't know. It's a all right, Matt. Lastly, it's a rubric, the monkey boy world. Boris Johnson, Mario Draghi, Joe Biden, monkey town, monkey town.
Well, there's serious pushback.
Yeah,
And,
I know.
and,
I mean,
and I wanted to share.
look what's going on with the farmers in the Netherlands and Holland. I mean, they're shutting down. There's no food. People are they're rioting, man. They're gonna go bananas.
Well, here it's coming.
How many days? How many days is it, Bob? 6?
I think it's well, for me, it's probably 4 meals to anarchy.
I've got about 12.
No, you don't. You are not right there with the average of 12 meals to anarchy. Although you have been doing a lot of keto, so the starvation thing you're getting better at it.
Yeah.
At this out of the from CBS Bay Area, independent California truckers scramble after Supreme Court refuses to hear AB 5 case, which was a case that said truckers cannot be independent contractors. Incredibly, Uber and Lyft both got out of this because it was like independent contract drivers, and so car drivers got exempted from this amazingly. But here's what I want to point out: 9,000 trucks that serve the port on a daily basis, and this is the port of Oakland. 90% of them are independent contractors. How do you get rid of 90% of your independent contractors that are carrying all the freight and have it not be an incredible cluster on the other end?
It's a good question.
And so I don't know when the protests start. This is kicking in within the next week, I believe. The article goes on to point out that, of course, like so many things government-wise, there's no enforcement mechanism yet. Nobody in charge of enforcement. So some threads are saying that people are just going to say, yeah, great, I'm still doing it.
He's trading. You mean they don't have
he's trading, everyone. He's trading, and it's distraction to the show. And
they don't have a policing arm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, nobody's in charge of the enforcement mechanism, and it's not been determined yet. Gotcha. But just like the farmers in the Netherlands, I mean, it's amazing too to actually see 300 or 400 tractors.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah. The one picture where there was like 500,000 of them. It's crazy.
It's amazing. I mean, like your food comes from somewhere, and there's not enough crickets to
those
serve
countries
everybody.
aren't that big geographically either. So that, but that's the other thing. It's like, wow, I wouldn't even think they would have that many farms around in Holland.
The world is rural, dude.
No, it is.
It's rural. Let's face it.
And again, you know what this is proving? There is no overpopulation. Fucking New World Order. There is none. There's so much space. Give me a break. Stop your idiocy.
I think Elon said he will pay for pregnancies now. I think that was the latest on that.
Yeah.
All right, man. Any other price?
He's got 11 kids now. So.
Any other price discovery as we all sit on our hands waiting for the jobs report tomorrow? We got jobs, and then we got earnings starting, and then
let's talk a little tennis. You'd asked me yesterday what I thought about. You were asking me what I thought about John McEnroe, and I put in that graphic. Can you bring that one in?
Where'd you put it? Inside Market Vitals?
Yeah, I sent it to you this morning.
Inside Market Vitals.
I sent it to you this morning. Yes.
Come inside. Oh, let me see. Oh, there's McEnroe. Yeah.
Because I do like John McEnroe as an announcer. That's probably the new generation. That's all I know him as. But I loved him. I mean, he was coming after. It was Borg and Lendl and McEnroe, right? I mean, those were our guys growing up. And he
the tail end of Jimmy Connors.
The tail end of Jimmy Connors. He was the young guy coming up to uproot Jimmy Connors. And Jimmy Connors was a bastard, just like John McEnroe is a bastard. So
he was.
They weren't that
fact,
different.
Did you see the documentary with about the kid that almost beat Jimmy Connors, and he had practiced with them and played with them, and Connors had a great comeback, and I don't know if it was a US Open, and then never talked to the kid again the rest of his life.
Right.
After spending 4 years playing with them.
Shunned him.
Super 70s, we share a lot from Super 70s, one of our great followers. I don't know which one we are. 2 things to understand about prime John McEnroe. He was a dick most of the time. He was also correct most of the time, and therefore I was usually on his fucking side anyway.
Right, and this is that was a perfect answer that I should have given you yesterday, because that's exactly how I felt about him. And honestly, like, I'm that same dick. Like, I can be a dick and straightforward in my trading thoughts, but I'm usually right. So you can be upset and call me a dick, but I'm usually right.
Did you see this? And
I'm very well defined when it comes to risk. So be a dick.
He made it seemingly uncomfortable to watch because he was just so animated.
Well, and he'd be, there would be women or these 110-pound men, and he'd just berate them and call them pussies. And yeah, I mean, it was ugly. It was not pretty.
This going back to the doubles match yesterday at Wimbledon, where they didn't want to play anymore because they didn't get a call their way. I mean, he still played, even if it didn't go his way. He understood.
Oh, he understood it disrupted the flow, but he understood what it did to the other player and the crowd and everything. It got him going for him. And then when he made a great shot, they'd be like, holy shit, because it didn't phase him. He was able to seriously compartmentalize that shit, and it didn't affect his game. It was literally part of his shtick.
Right on.
And it was a way for him to get it out and not beat himself up. It's actually, again, coming back to the book, The Inner Game of Tennis, don't beat yourself up. That's really the message, right? Move, be in the point, be in the zone. That's all it's about. And for him, that was the way for him to probably get back into the zone.
There was a share yesterday of somebody screaming at a council meeting. Did you see this?
I don't know.
The one where the guy was talking about how the Constitution protects free speech. Not only that, it protects John McEnroe type language when you're talking to public officials. Like they wanted to remove the guy from the city council hearing because he was pissed off, and he was telling them that they suck.
Right.
And he was like, no, the Constitution actually demands this of the citizenry.
Yes. Correct.
And
it does. Yes.
I don't know. Well, I think we got a pendulum, Matt. We got a pendulum move back towards that.
We will, but it won't
Wait
happen.
a second. No, we're seeing it. Boris Johnson gone, right?
Yes.
Draghi will be gone. This November election is.
Biden should be gone already, but
no, they'll spoon.
I mean, Obama's third term is failing miserably here.
There's a big swing back.
And by the way, and I was just reading an article yesterday that Obama has fully said he will not, back Joe for the next election. So he should be gone. Like even the Democrats would be smart to get rid of him right now.
Yeah, and seriously,
like it's the only thing that's going to save 24 for him.
Seriously, the Kamala Harris just keeps delivering. There was 2 deliveries yesterday.
Montel Williams' old girlfriend.
Biden putting the medal on backwards from the guy. That and Kamala's rant on seriousness and being serious and
it's serious to be seriously.
That
serious.
Along with the passage of time is some serious.
What time is it? Isn't it?
All right. Anything else? Any other prices as we wait on jobs tomorrow, Matt? Anything else jumping out?
One thing that we could talk about a little bit, mortgage rates dropped to 5.3, right? They got up to 6.3. So everybody's all frothy. But then when that happens, as soon as that happens, the one thing I will talk about is the bonds. We talked about it yesterday. They peaked up there at 142, just over the 142 level. And they've just been getting schmeezed and all day today. This is the interesting thing. Like the bonds are down big again. And let me bring that up for you. But we've gone from 142 all the way down here, Bob, to 138.10. We're just off the low here. So that blow off move to that new high there at 142.07 or whatever it was, it's paused. So, again, you got CPI next week. Also, there's monster economic news. So don't get too excited about this holiday thin week. It's super light volume today. Basically everybody just pulled their offers, right? We're in a zero bid, zero offer market. Which one is it on a day? You got to figure that out in the first 5 minutes. It seems like lately. That's this week at least. The volatility has just gone to crap. It's really slow. And so if you're a trader, this is where you have to sit on your hands and be really patient for the next narrative or whatever it is to come along that is tradable. But right now we're kind of in no man's land, both bullish and bearish, in my opinion.
All right, Matt, that's all we got. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. Please share and
I mean,
retweet.
Wouldn't you agree? It's super hard to be super bearish, super bullish right now, right here.
No, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think summer markets in particular, patience is the name of the game.
Well, no,
we actually talked about it on the way in. You know, patience is the name of the game, and if you shouldn't have yourself in a position where you absolutely have to trade every day.
No.
I mean, I think it was different when you were on the trading floor, when you were actually just part of price discovery and there was things to do and to be involved in just because you were part of the flow. Since, you know, everybody's on the screen now, 99.9% of the people are on screen now, that patience has got to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
Trade your setups. If they're not there, wait for your setups. If you can't stand sitting like that, then do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Play guitar on Spotify.
Right.
Bingo.
Bingo.
All right, man. HFR from Mars. Currently from Mars, heading to Chicago, from Chicago to Chicago. That's it, Matt.
All righty. Good one, Bobby.
Enjoy the day. Thank you so much.